Okay, so now that we've relatively rode the hype train for the Pokemon DLC, the Teal Mask got a release date September 13th, which as of right now, that's about less than a month away. So, what that means for pretty much anybody. Um, what that specifically means, a few things. First of all, before we even begin this, my prayers and continued support for the victims of the massive wildfire in Maui, Hawaii. I pray for all of y'all safe return. I hope that everyone remains safe in these tough times, and I continue to keep you and your welfare in my prayers. And I hope that when this ordeal is finished, I hope everyone can get back to at least some form of regularity to the circumstances given to them. And we all must remember that life is not promised, life is inevitable, and life is, most importantly, it is precious. So, without further ado, let's get back to it. So, to kick it off, obviously the championships have just ended. Yokohama, for the first time ever, we got to see, you know, the Pokemon tournament return to its homeland, which was a wonderful thing. Great turnout. Shout out to everybody that participated. I personally was not able to participate or be at the tournament, but I was obviously a part of watching the live streams and all that good jazz. But now comes the big juicy part of this fruit. Several different Pokemon have been revealed for the Teal Mask and the Indigo Disc. And so far, the only thing thus far, we've only got about, if you count the ones we've already been revealed, Terapagos, Ogerpon, both having their each respective terrestrialized mask or whatever have you. I'm sorry, terraforms. Please forgive me for that. Terraforms, right? So, what is this going to mean for us later for next year? Well, I'm gonna tell you one thing. It's gonna mean a lot because there's gonna be a lot of motherfuckers out here that's not having it, respectfully, and I respectfully maintain my considered factor about pretty much all of it. With these new Pokemon, these new abilities, new moves, and all that good stuff, yeah, it's a lot to go over. But we're just gonna start it off. So honestly, as somebody that does play competitive, I have played ranked over the course of. I started out in Scarlet and Violet in season 2 because by the time season 1 had already finished, I had just finished the game. So it was like, oh well, try it again next time, right? So practice, 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 all this good stuff. Say it like this: Diplin, right? At first, we all thought that was a regional variant or convergent form as they started off in Scarlet and Violet. That is not the case. This is effectively a entirely new evolution for Applin, making Applin a well, not really the first of its kind, but the first Pokemon in Sword and Shield to get 3 split evolutions. This being Appleton and whatever's the other one, I forgot. But apparently there is some new abilities. It does maintain being the grass dragon type, which I don't know how I feel about that. I know it's a lot of people on Twitter talking about that. It may or may not have a evolution to it. If it does come up with that, that's crazy. But we're looking at it from the more traditional sense, standing at grass dragon type with the ability sweet I'm sorry, super sweet syrup, and what else? Gluttony. So it's split. It's 2 split abilities, but I'm guessing its main ability is the super sweet syrup, and it comes with a signature move called Syrup Bomb. Now, again, I'm reading this off the Pokemon webpage as I'm talking about it. So apparently, Syrup Bomb is a move only Drippling can learn. No, no verification. We'll probably see later on if Applin can actually learn this move once the game, updates and you've copped your DLC. But it seems here that it is a special attack that causes an explosion of syrup that coats the target in syrup and causes its speed stat to lower for each turn for 3 turns each. So you're going to be down 3x you're going to be -3 in the speed department. And adding its special ability, which is Super Sweet Syrup, and this is the first time this ability has been revealed. Says here that when Diplin enters the battle, syrup covers the battlefield, lowering the evasiveness of the opposing Pokemon. So whether that I'm pretty sure that does mean that it's going to your go for double battles or anything of that nature. So lowering the evasiveness, which means moves like double team and pretty much anything that would raise your evasiveness. If this Pokemon comes on the field, you're down 1 stage as well. So basically, Diplin is not coming in for you to die. Yeah, don't get me wrong, Fairy, Poison, Dragon type moves, and Fire type moves, all of these do damage, but lowering the speed stat, and I'm actually okay with that. I mean, I can't see like Appleton or relatively anything of that nature, the entire Applin line not having that at least that move. To be honest, because I figured like once the DLC drops, obviously you got to do an update for Pokemon Scarlet or Violet, whichever is your respective game, and then you're gonna end up having to update it. So once Applin does come in, you're gonna. I honestly don't assume that this is not one of those level up Pokemon. It's a high chance that that's inaccurate. I'm pretty sure that Pokemon is going to be something like you got to go through high key a lot for, like, or at least like it has to be upgraded a certain amount. I don't know. We'll see once the DLC drops. But overall, that's a pretty standard yet that's kind of broken. If I'm being respectfully honest about that, that's pretty broken for a Pokemon so new to come in, especially in it being an evolution of a Pokemon from the previous generations, which we got a lot of those, but like honestly, I didn't think really we didn't really get that much love for Sword and Shield in Scarlet and Violet. I'm not gonna lie about that. But in this DLC, it seems like that changed though. Next, we got Archulodon, which is a Pokemon that we won't see until the Indigo Disc, which again, that's a little ways off right now, but it's likely that that's going to come in around. It's probably going to come in about in between, at least November, at least early November, early December. I'm not gonna. Like put it in, like put it out there that it's going to be pushed out or nothing like that, because I know for a fact with the Teal Mask coming in, I know they're going to at least spend about a month and a half getting that out. And 9 times out of 10, by the time the Teal Mask is even dropped, like relatively, the Indigo Disc will come out, the Teal Mask will still relatively be new. So, and then by that point, once it's just, I'm rambling. I don't want to ramble about that. Anyway, so the next Pokemon we got on the list here that was revealed is Archulodon, which is an evolution of Duraludon, which we saw in Sword and Shield. I've seen a lot of people use that in their playthroughs. I've seen a lot of people during the competitive scene use its Gigantamax form. So it was definitely one of those fan favorite Pokemon that you didn't think would be a fan favorite Pokemon, but it was. And coming in, same Steel Dragon type, so its evolution did not change very much, and it has the ability Sturdy and Stamina. So aside from keeping, like, if it's enough, depending on what circumstances make this Pokemon evolve, at least, I'm pretty sure Stamina will probably be its go-to ability, because we had that in Mudsdale with Gen 7. So I know it can be a considered headache, but when you factor in its weaknesses to fire, ground, fairy, and stuff like that, I mean, I can see that this Pokemon would be a followed inconsistency, but I mean, if done right in competitive, it'll definitely do it'll definitely do a it'll do some hits. I'll say that. And apparently its signature move comes called as electroshock. I'm sorry, electro shot. With this electric type move, it quantifies the energy and fires it off at a high voltage bolt of electricity. Under rain, Archulodon can immediately fire off this attack without having to spend time charging it up. So it's a two-turn move. So basically it's like focus punch. So my assumption is that if it's hit, it'll lose that electric charge. But if it's rain, and if you have rain dance or Kyogre on the field, I'm pretty sure that'll make it an easy shot. But again, I'm not even gonna hold you. I was never really a big fan of Duraludon. I didn't use it in my Sword and Shield playthrough, so I'm not gonna sit there and hold you. But apparently, when it lands the attack, it also boosts its special attack by 2 stages. So if you're one of those players that really like, again, seen it many times. See it, you're gonna see it every generation. We've seen it every generation when it came to the tournaments and all that good stuff. It's not that bad. It doesn't seem like a bad Pokemon to me. But it's like, again, you factor in all those weaknesses, it just seems like a real kick to the chin. And mind you, I'm not one of those types that falls behind all of you know, the leaks or Riddler coup or anything like that. Like I go by watching some of my favorite my favorite PokeTubers. Like, I'm just not built like that. I'll just say that I'm just not built like that, right? So outside of that, if you are in rain conditions, what turns to a two turn is a 1 turn. You can use that immediately, and it boosts your special attack by two stages. That's not bad. It's not bad, especially when most steel type Pokemon comes like it definitely builds it up. Especially if you're gonna rely on it to be basically a tank. Because honestly, I don't see if I do use this thing for competitive matches, I can guarantee you it's gonna be like strategically, it's not gonna go well. I'm not gonna assume that I know how to use. It would take me some time to even figure out a strategy around a Pokemon like that, because that would just throw me off. But anyway, so next we got 2 new Paradox Pokemon for your respective games. So if you got Violet, you got Iron Crown, and for Scarlet you get Raging Bolt. And we're gonna talk about Raging Bolt real quick. So Raging Bolt is basically the paradox of Cobalion. Let's see, coming in at the Steel Psychic type, obviously with the Quark Drive and all that other stuff. So honestly, when I seen this in the first trailer it dropped, I honestly didn't think too much. I just thought it as like, okay, it's basically a light blue Tesla to me. I mean, I'm still going. Don't get me wrong. I'm not one of those. Oh, I prefer the past or the over the future forms. Honestly, I can do without both, to be honest. Because me personally, like, I when I first heard that they were doing future and past Pokemon versions of their predecessors, I was not impressed at first. I was not. Because honestly, I thought like, okay, to replace fossil Pokemon, because the fossil Pokemon from Sword and Shield were not well received. A lot of people were really pissed about how weak and useless they were. I mean, then again, what fossil Pokemon in any generation have most people used in competitive, like respectfully? Yeah, it's cool for a playthrough, but it's like just trash. It's just ass burgers, basically. But anyway, so I know I'm about to butcher this name, okay? Because I saw this and Tachyon Cutter, or whatever. We're going to call it Tachyon. Tachyon Cutter. It's a steel type move that never misses, allowing the user to unleash 2 successful hits on a target. The Pokemon attacks the firing blast with the energy from its horns. So apparently it does 60 base damage. Okay, so now we got something to talk about. So that right there, taking out of not taking that shit out of context. We're not gonna take that out of context. It's a stealing psychic type. It's metagross, but paradox form, right? Only weaknesses are dark types and fire types and ground types. Outside of that, this thing is a tank. Okay, this is a tank. And for whatever reason, they even sit there and like I'm picturing it right now. Like I'm picturing excuse me. I'm picturing how the competitive fight is gonna go. You got a Pokemon that does 60 damage per hit. So you're talking like basically a stab move with the equivalence of a non-missing move, a no miss. So you're basically getting 120 no scope with a singular Pokemon, minus its weaknesses. If this Paradox Pokemon, now a lot of people were using Iron Hands and Iron Bundle during the tournaments this year. I can almost guarantee, I will bet $100 that I guarantee you that Iron Crown is going to be the one that covers both of them and stuffs that shit into one. If you give that Flash Cannon, Tachyon Cutter, Protect, and Psychic, and that is if they decide that they want to use its base Terraform, which I'm guaranteeing you is going to be Steel. If it's a chance that you catch Iron Crown and its Terra type is Psychic, I guarantee you that's a 1 in 5,000 chance. Because I guarantee you, because they're going to try and push this narrative and try to push this Pokemon like they're going to in the Indigo Disc, I can almost guarantee you that Pokemon is going to have straight out the gate a Steel Terra type. Right? Now, what's crazy? They put it in the trailer, they put it up against the Mimikyu. Now, admittedly, Mimikyu might have been a bad option. Mimikyu might have been a bad option because on some real talk, Mimikyu already being a fairy type, number one, and then doing damage to Mimikyu while it's disguised is busted. Okay, Mimikyu's disguise does bust it when it's busted. Just hitting Mimikyu in general busts its disguise, and that causes like a good 25 health off, right? But mind you, adding the consistency of one cutter being used to damage its disguise and the second to be an instant KO. That is a fatal mistake. That is a fatal mistake. And I can't even acknowledge the fact that not only you're not getting hit once, you're getting hit twice. That thing coming in swinging, legit swinging. Now, and if I think about it, like if I'm really want to be petty, having Dipplin and Iron Crown on the field at the same time would be a pretty basic, would probably be the most consistent time to use some of the most cringe-worthy shit you could ever think of. And yet you sit here and look at this stats, and I'm like, that's gonna be a high attack stat, promises. And I'm just gonna sit here and I'm thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, I'm glad I downloaded the DLC before it came out, because I'd have been mad. I'd have been salty if I came through and I downloaded the DLC all late. I go into competitive. Next thing I know, I see somebody bringing this walking Tesla outside. Nah, you need to put bro back in the garage with that shit. But no, real talk. We got one more though. And again, this, for some odd reason, this is a Scarlet exclusive. Well, it's not a bad thing that's a Scarlet exclusive, but it's also just going to be a part of the Indigo Disc. And I think I'm gonna get into that a little bit after I finish this though. So next thing we got a Paradox Raikou, which is based off of, from what I read, it said it's based off of Brontosaurus. We got Paradox Raging Bolt. Obviously, the ability photosynthesis, meaning its highest stat is boosted by 2 stages depending on sunlight. So it's already a bulk stat. And apparently, its signature move, which was showcased in the trailer, says here that Thunderclap is a special move that allows the user to move first if the opposing Pokemon has chosen an attack as its next move. The user unleashes an electrical blast to deal damage, but if the move will fail if the target is not ready an attack of its own. Now, that's a bit of an oxymoron. That's a bit of an oxymoron, because I'm looking at it and I'm like, so you're telling me basically it's Sucker Punch, but an electric type move. I can't even begin to tell you how much sense that makes, because it doesn't. Because I'm like, if I really want to get off if I really want to clap back on some shit like that, I think the only thing that is literally, that move is nothing. Basically, that move is nothing. It's dog water, basically, and it's basically, that's just Sucker Punch. And I'm not even like, and mind you, I didn't even decide to do this. I didn't even decide to make this video for the fact that I wanted to talk about the features. No, first of all, we talking straight out the gate competitive. We not talking about nothing else. Okay. These 4 new Pokemon, then adding Terapagos, Ogerpon, Okidogi, Munkidori, and Pheasantipity. That's 9 Pokemon right there. And to be honest with you, we weren't even, I'm not even gonna hold you. I felt like we got the right amount of Pokemon for the DLC, especially when they said that there's returning Pokemon nonetheless. Because they do this every year. They do this every generation, right? After the National Dex got kicked to the curb, because let's be realistic, and I'm only going to stop and say this for like a split second just to continue to verify my point. People need to understand that there is over 1,000 Pokemon as of 2022. No, I take that back. No, I was right the first time. There's over 1,000 Pokemon as of 2022. There is no way the Nintendo Switch in its base form or the OLED is going to categorize 1,000 Pokemon. That's exactly why they like, when they realized, like, and again, maybe this was the mistake here, and Nintendo made the right decision to combat it. Knowing for a fact that Sword and Shield had just got out and they had already said, we're not doing, the National Dex anymore. Pokemon Home coming into play in 2020. Let me tell you something. That was the biggest fuck you to the industry, because they knew for a fact that people were going to complain. They knew for a fact people was not going to have this concept like, you going to drop a whole new game, but then tell us we can't do it. We can't play and use all our Pokemon in the same game. 100% understood that. And Pokemon Home came out in February of 2020, right before the pandemic started to really start to kick off, right? And now there is over 1,020 Pokemon. If you count the 4 Pokemon that were revealed in the newest trailer, and then the 4 Pokemon that were revealed when the DLC was first talked about, that's 9 different Pokemon. Right now, we're at 1,013. Okay, we are at 1,022 Pokemon right now, folks. Ain't no way. Anyway, but that's besides the point. Now, what this means for competitive play is a couple things, and I'm gonna get into that. What this means with the DLC particularly means that by I want to say that the next Pokemon rank season, because season 9 is about to end. Season 9 ends on the 31st of this month. So at minimum, when season 10 starts, by that point, so we don't really have nothing to worry about in that aspect. But I will say this though. By the time, I know people are going to speed run this game. Number one, I know people are going to speed run this DLC. At minimum, they said the DLC is about like 5 hours. They said the DLC together is about 10 hours maybe, depending on how fast you play through it. My assumption is that it's 10 hours if you put both DLCs together, minimum. I don't think it would take me I don't even think it'd take me 3 hours. Real shit. And I ain't gonna hold you, because knowing for a fact that they already told you can pre-order the game, get Zoroark, get all these costumes and all this cosmetic shit with it, then turn around as soon as the game drop. That game gonna drop at midnight. At midnight on the 12th of September, and I guarantee you, people will instantly download that game, and it is not even gonna be talked about after the fact, because you're gonna see all your favorite YouTubers, all your favorite PokeTubers talking about it, being on it. It's gonna be that in that order. That we were Ogerpon, Pheasant Dippity, Monkey Door, Okie Dokie. I'm gonna take them out of the consequence. I'm gonna take them out of the sequence for a second. Just these 4 Pokemon alone. 3 Dragon types. And out of those 4 Pokemon, 2 of them are Steel types. And 2 of them are fucking Dragon types. Well, 3 of them are Dragon types. The biggest thing competitive-wise, if we're gonna go by a traditional 4x4, so we're gonna go by. I'm gonna put this sequence in for you real quick. A 4 and 4 stat, and without even bothering basing off attacks, I'm not even gonna bother putting the attack stats in there or anything like that. I'm just gonna paint the sequence for you. If I do decide to use these 4 Pokemon, and I will specifically use these 4 Pokemon for this instance, I've got 3 Dragon types, 2 Steel types, a Grass type, and an Electric type. That means out of 18 different types, I have coverage for at least 10 of those types. Okay? I have coverage for at least 10 of those types. I would have to worry about Steel. I'd have to worry about Dragon moves, Fire type moves, Ground type moves, and Speed Stab moves. Those are the 4 things I'd have to worry about. Using Duraludon would be using Archulodon would be an inconsistency for me, because that would just lead to me being busted. So my thing about it is, I would imagine that I'm going to at least try to. I would definitely say I'm going to use Terra and Electric Terra type for Archulodon, just because I know for a fact that that special attack is going to get raised twice. And if I'm going to try to rely on Duraludon, at least the first 2 Pokemon straight out the gate, Dipplin and Archulodon are going to be up first, straight out the gate. And I'm talking Dragon Dance on both. At least try to get off one of those. I'm going to try to get off one of those moves, right? By that point, raise all my stats. And by the time I actually do land off that Electro Shot, I'm going to be up 3 stages. And adding the fact Dipplin's ability, and then Syrup Bomb, I can get off to. And there's, first of all, ooh, shit. I'm going to hit my mic out. And that's the biggest thing right there. We don't even know if Dipplin's Syrup Bomb is a 2-slot or 1-slot move. We only know what we saw from the trailer. My theory is that is a double slot move. Because me personally, Just like Psychic Terrain or Trick Room, Super Sweet Syrup is a move that's going to drop your evasiveness as long as Dipplin is on the field. If I change Diplin's Terra type to Fairy and give it the Terra Blast, I'm sweeping. I'm covered. I'm covered. I'm legit covered. Yes, I do have to worry about, poison moves and steel type moves. But legit for that purpose, if I really was just going to come out the gate swinging, Archulodon with the 2 turns, Electro Shot would be a guaranteed hit. And if I do lose Archulodon within the first round, I know for a fact I can come back and clutch with Iron Crown. And all it takes is put booster energy on that motherfucker, and I guarantee you he's gonna be a force to be reckoned with. That Tesla gonna turn into a Camaro, just like that. That's gonna be the next Transformer. Watch what I tell you. That is a blue Optimus Prime right there with gold and blue highlights. And I'm not gonna sit here and try to flake none of it. Don't get me wrong. I don't care about the Paradox Pokemon at all. I care about what they can do. Y'all can say these Paradox Pokemon are ugly. You can say they're annoying. They're useless. All you have. That's fine. But when it comes right down to these Paradox Pokemon, they are here to stay. Okay? They are here to stay. Now, whether the DLC is going to do just like it did with Iron Leaves and the Suicune variant, look, whether they do the same way that they did Iron Leaves and Walking Wake, let me tell you something. From what I've read and what I know, what I've been told, let me tell you what I know. This is what I know. 3 months after both DLCs have been out, mark my words, before the end of spring next year, just like they did with Iron Leaves and Walking Wake, they're going to tell us that if you didn't catch it or you don't have the respective version to get it, they're going to put it in a Terra raid battle and make it a 7-star. Whatever is the respectable Terra type that it has is going to be the opposite. Iron Leaves, Psychic. Walking Wake, Water. Guarantee you, if you got Violet, Raging Bolt is going to be Dragon. If you got Scarlet, Iron Crown is going to be Psychic. Guarantee. And I can tell you right now, they surprised us with that, with what it wasn't even a DLC. Now, a lot of people seem to forget this back in the day, is that when Pokemon leaks were legit credible and you didn't have everybody and their mother trying to claim something they don't know, let me tell you what I know. Part 2 of what I know. Iron Leaves and Walking Wake were not supposed to be a part of the original games. They were supposed to be included in the DLC. But guess what? They marked it off and said, you know what? Since the game already selling as much as it is, let's give them a little bit of a reward. And now, let's also not forget September 1st until the 18th, which is exactly 5 days after the first DLC is out, you get to catch Mewtwo, which for those of you who don't have Mewtwo or have Mewtwo in home and you just decide to bring it over, you don't have to worry about it. But those of you that want to catch the mighty Mewtwo, you have that ability as well. Again, my point being is give it before the end of spring next year, and I promise you, while the tournaments are going on and they give us that release window, because that release window for the Honolulu for the Honolulu World Championship, I'm telling you, mark my words, we gonna before the summer hit, before the end of this year, matter of fact, they didn't allow us to use Walking Wake or Iron Leaves or Miraidon or Koraidon. Guarantee you by the end of the year, they're going to let us use them. Because they thought, okay, we're not going to let you guys use all the Pokemon. And for the entire duration of this game. Now, mind you, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet have been out almost a year now. And you know what's crazy? We don't care. if they let us use Duraludon, not Duraludon, Miraidon or Koraidon. We don't care. Because me personally, Koraidon is just Koraidon, Miraidon are just steps or just literally Pokemon that I would just use to bulk up my Paradox one. And that's it. I'm just saying. You let us use Pokemon that we had in Sword and Shield. What was it? At the tournament, somebody was using both sides of Urshifu. Then they disqualified somebody for using hacked Pokemon. They didn't do nothing about that. All they did was send that dude home. To tell you, this new generation of Pokemon it was different from the jump. I knew this new generation of Pokemon was gonna be different when X and Y came out. Okay, I was born in 1998. Okay, I wasn't even 18 when Pokemon X and Y came out. I wasn't even 18. Okay, when I played competitive for the first time, it was here in Washington, D.C. And I have the photos to prove it. I got the evidence to prove it. I got the time to back it up. Let me tell y'all, they different. They different. Okay? They real different. And whether you want to exclusively deny that or you don't want to deny that, let me tell you something. They different. They real different. And now that we getting to see the 1,000 Pokemon mark, shoot, I was surprised we got past 800, I was like, for real? Let me tell you something. Though these Pokemon don't look like much to me personally, I guarantee you, give me 2 weeks. Give me 2 weeks. I'm going to have y'all something. I'm going to have y'all a nice little setup. And I'm going to train my sons. I'm going to train my son. I'm going to train my nephew how to play Pokemon. I'm trying to tell you something. My nephew been playing Pokemon as long as I've been on this earth. You hear me? My nephew ain't that much younger than me. And y'all seen for yourselves, me and my nephew play Pokemon real aggressive together. Full 6-on-6 every time. Let me tell you something. That right there, that's going to be a game changer. That's some break your console type of shit going on there. And that's if you play it right. And I promise y'all, when the trailers do drop, not the trailer, when the games do drop, it's going to be a difference between, it's going to be, the standouts are going to definitely be out there. But enough of that. Thank you guys for watching. It's been real, been fun. Again, my prayers go out to Maui and all who was injured or involved in that catastrophe. Shout out to everybody that performed amazingly. You guys did wonderful. Fantastic, admirable. All the players, all the champs, all of you guys did your fucking best, and I was like, y'all put on a show, real talk. But anyway, that's besides the point. Maybe we'll do this again. Peace.